This deck was originally created by Jeffrey Greenblatt at Mindshare. He runs gaming for them, and he's one of the true gaming experts in the media space. But unfortunately, he was unable to be here today. He had a scheduling conflict, so he had me fill in for him. And I made some edits so it would be more authentic coming from me, from more of the media sales side than, say, the media buying side. But please have any questions for me or for Jeffrey. Both of our contact information will be at the end here. So I have been doing this for quite some time, as Gordon mentioned, since '99 at shockwave.com, doing some of the very first in-game advertisements in casual games at that time. And over the last 15 or so years, I've actually stopped thinking of myself so much as a media salesperson or a business development person, and really more of a language translator, because the developers and the brands are not speaking the same language often, even though they're talking about the same things. So I'm going to go through today sort of how to bridge that gap. So today I'm going to go through what brands need to hear in order for them to consider spending their budgets on your game, what they're looking for from gaming in general, and there's a spoiler alert here. You're going to hear the word engagement quite a few times. How to position your game in their language, and we're going to go through a couple ideas or a couple examples of success, very simple ideas. And then we'll open the floor for some conversation in a bit. So while not necessarily universal, the brand world does think very, very, very favorably about gaming. And that's for two primary reasons. Number one is reach. Gaming as a medium, when you compare it with television, radio, whatever else, gaming as a medium has significant reach that cannot be ignored. But there are a million different options for a brand to achieve reach. What gaming has that nobody else has is deep engagement. It's a lean forward experience where advertising is embraced, and it occurs across many platforms. So brands covet reach, and there's no question gaming delivers reach. You guys can see the top of that, can you? So these numbers are actually even a little bit dated, but needless to say, they have all gone up. And while it's not just reach, it's the fact that you can reach both genders. So 75% of all guys do play games, but it's not all dudes. There's 46% of women are playing, including 73% of all moms. And for brands targeting moms or women, this is actually very big because there's not that many opportunities to reach that demographic. By the way, if anybody's looking for a business opportunity, I think that if you put together a website that had nothing but photos of hipsters playing video games, you would make a ton of money from people doing presentations. Speaking of, Nickelback over there is representing the core gamer market, and believe it or not, the way that you think about your games with regard to targeting demographics is exactly what the brands are thinking about. Now, you're thinking about them in terms of monetization, compulsion loops, marketing, things like that, but they're actually thinking about what sort of messaging do I want to put around what sort of game. They can also reach gamers literally any time of day, and that's important to them because it means different messaging, it means different media, and it also means that although your game is great, it means that they're probably also talking to a variety of different games that are on different platforms, and they're going to sync that messaging across throughout the day to reach that person. So reach is great, reach is awesome, but it's really engagement that we represent. And when you can drive engagement, what you're going to do is you're going to drive attribution lifts, and those metrics are very important because they ultimately lead to sales. With regard to like total addressable reach, though, I mean, if you compare gaming with YouTube or Facebook, combine those actually, triple it, and then you're about the right sort of audience size, just to give you some sort of idea. Brands also love gamification, and you're doing a lot of these things in your games already. Personalization, rewards, activity. These are things that brands want to be involved in. They want to help you with them. They want to benefit from them. And these are options that you just simply don't get from TV or radio. So when you're talking to brands, consider that. Another thing to consider is that anybody can offer tracking these days. You can tell somebody how many times their brand was seen in X situation or whatever. That's great. That's awesome. It's actually kind of just the norm now that you have to be able to provide that. But if you can offer optimization, which is essentially just looking at that line of metrics and improving upon them, that's where you're going to really add value to a brand, and they're going to think favorably about your game and your development house over others. Gaming fits in very well with other media, which, again, your game is great, but they are spending money all over the place. And so if they can tie a gaming initiative to what they're doing in TV or what they're doing in radio, it's very, very important to them to be able to sell that through. In fact, if they're able to break the wall down with gaming when they get to other media, like, say, television or radio, they're able to take on more acute messaging because the initial awareness has already been broken through. So gaming is, mobile in particular, it's the hottest thing. Foreseeable future, it's still going to be about mobile. And that's probably because it continues to dramatically improve and evolve and grow. And so, there's, even just North America, there's a large number of gamers. It's growing, and it's not going to stop anytime soon, especially in emerging markets. So with regard to how brands are thinking about your game from that side, it's really no question that gaming is effective, it's large, it's efficient for them on the spending front. But why hasn't Coke pulled up the truck and started backing money up into your studio parking lot? So that's what we're going to get to next. Now, so this is the cover page of Jeffrey Greenblatt's very successful white paper about how to educate the brands within the mindshare world worldwide on how and why to leverage gaming. And this is where the language translation starts to begin. What you know about your gamers and your games needs to be presented in a different context when you're talking to brands, because they're going to be presenting that information differently in their meetings. So you need to put it in their context if you want to be effective in that regard. So, but before we jump into this next section, I do want to make a distinguish between, say, ad tech versus brand partnership or brand integration. If you don't have, I think that 250K DAU number is too large, and it's also, to be dogmatic about something like that, I think is flawed. If your game can deliver reach, if your game can deliver engagement, then you should consider doing brand partnerships and brand integrations. If you're a much smaller game and you really don't think you can provide something like that, there's nothing better. There's no easier money in gaming, I think, than just integrating ad tech. It's pretty much your first step to monetization from that regard. There's great partners out there. You just heard from Google. They can do everything from top to bottom for you. There's AdColony, Keep, AdMob was mentioned, InMobi. But if you are able to do brand integrations, if you have somebody on staff that understands these sorts of things, or if you want to take it on yourself, it's very, very high margin revenue, and it can not only represent revenue, but can also represent promotion for your brand. So this is the holy trinity with regards to the way brands think about it, and it is in this order. And the most common mistake anybody can do when they go in to talk to a brand is to tell them their great idea, because they don't really care at that point what your great idea is. They don't care how awesome your game is at that point. What they want to understand is, do you fit into their objective? Do you fit into their strategy? Before you can get to tactics, you have to understand what it is that they want to do. And to that point, the absolute best sales training I ever had was from a 85-year-old gentleman named John Swain, who told me that the only thing you need to do as a salesperson is listen. It's the hardest thing to do if you're a salesperson in the world, is to listen. But the best thing you can do is actually sit down, listen to what people's objectives are. They will tell you everything. They will tell you everything of what they're trying to achieve if you'll just shut up. Just don't open your mouth, listen to what they're saying. And that can mean anything from what their goals are. If they're trying to go after engagements to drive point of purchase, that might be a specific goal that they have. They might have specific targets or budgets or timing. And if you're not thinking about those things, if you're not listening to those things, when you come back with your kick-ass idea, they're not going to care. Now, you're still listening when you get to strategy. You're still not talking, because now what you need to find out is, how do they plan to actually achieve those objectives? And these have very specific criteria. Could be about the player type. It could be about where they're playing or the types of games they're playing. These are all very, very important to them. But once you get to understand those two things, now you need to start thinking about what it is that you're going to do to help them achieve that. And in order to do that, certainly you've already gone through, you've already understood the objectives. This might be 2 meetings. It might not just be in 1 meeting, so prepare for that. But you have to recalibrate what it is that you're doing and reposition it so that it's satisfying what it is they're trying to do. But again, I guarantee you they have told you everything that they want to hear within that first meeting. So before we get into a couple of examples of success, I want you to consider that there are an innumerable number of ways that a brand can succeed in gaming, a number of different reasons that they might leverage gaming. So these are just a couple ideas. They're actually very, very simple, but go in with an open mind, and again, make sure you're listening to what it is they're trying to achieve. They're thinking about gaming in a variety of different ways. They have a very good understanding of the gaming industry. They have a very good understanding of the gaming audience. What they don't know yet is your game and your audience. So that's what you're going to eventually get to with them. Get creative and always deliver what it is that they're seeking, but most important is keep it simple. And here we go. So the first example, and again, this is from Jeff Greenblatt from Mindshare. He was working with one of his clients, Royal Caribbean. They were looking to increase consideration and Facebook likes for their cruise line. So what they wanted to do was use engagement-based advertising, rewards-based advertising, which is essentially watch this, get that. And they met with Wild Tangent, who had the right games and the right audience for who they were trying to reach. And they integrated very simple ad technology that Wild Tangent is very good at. And Royal Caribbean was very, very happy with the results. 40,000 new Facebook likes at a vastly reduced price of what they'd have to do to buy it elsewhere. Second example is LG. LG is, in a crowded market themselves. One of the things that they were doing with a new line is they wanted to make sure that moms knew that their refrigerators had a massive storage, that you could fit lots and lots of things inside your refrigerator. So to provide context, they wanted to allow people to actually see that, allow them to actually engage with that and learn it for themselves. And so they worked with Zynga to create mini games, which allowed you to basically take assets and put them into the refrigerator, and you were rewarded for doing so. Extraordinarily simple stuff. There's no groundbreaking innovation here. Very, very effective. And these are very, very reasonable, predictable numbers across the space. In my 15 years of doing this, those are all very, very normal rates, metrics. We see outliers for sure. Certainly if you can get people to interact with brands outside of the game as well, like code programs on bottle caps or on packaging, that has even larger significance. Video programs, if you are able to serve video content inside your games, I would highly recommend you partnering with brands to create branded entertainment. Let them be the reason that your gamers understand how to play the games. At EA, we did something called Signal, which was essentially a DVD bonus features menu of sorts before Madden 12. And instead of downloading the demo and jumping straight into the gameplay, you jumped onto what was essentially this menu. It was a carousel of rotating video content. It cost us about $120,000 to develop, but we made around 10 times that with our partner, who was GM. And essentially all we had to do was create videos explaining how to be successful within the game, within the demo. And you think about a game demo, especially on console, you download a demo, you get no context, you get no instruction on how to be successful. I don't know about you, but I've played plenty of game demos that have actually convinced me not to buy the game because the experience was terrible. I didn't understand how to succeed. So because of Chevy Cruise and because of Reggie Bush and Prodigy, they showed us how to be successful in the game. We gave away a Chevy Cruise on the Chevy Facebook page. There were over 150,000 registrations for that, and there was actually a 17% of the people that registered for the contest then actually did go to a Chevy lot and look at a car, which is ridiculous. That's amazing. So Chevy is very happy with that. Not only that, but it also increased the attach rate between the Madden demo download and the Madden purchase that year. So that was very, very fast, but if you're able to pull all this off, then you are going to be able to present brands with some extraordinarily powerful programs. They want to talk to you, I promise that. The difficult part is getting a hold of them or figuring out who to talk to. I can tell you that one way to do that very easily is LinkedIn. everybody likes to brag about what they do on their day job on LinkedIn, and they will tell you what brands they represent and what programs they've done. Use it. Reach out. They want to hear from you. So with that, happy to take any questions. Yes?
Yeah, I got a question.
Your mic's coming.
So help me to understand, because everything you said here is very logical and very well put forward. Why haven't we seen some major free ad game in the top charts of the App Store? Because some of these brands are really big and can push it and market it really strongly.
Yeah.
And I can't, for the life of me, find a single ad game that has been hugely successful that you notice it actually in the top charts.
Yeah, so I think what you're referring to is the next level up from what we were talking about here.
Okay.
The next level, and by the way, it's related. They're cousins, so I think it's worth talking about. What you're talking about is more like a branded game or a game that is presented as a brand. And they've been done very successfully, both critically and financially. One of my favorites of all time is the Chipotle Scarecrow app. It's a very good game.
Yeah.
It was also included a Pixar quality video short, and it has monetization. So, and Minion Rush actually was one of the very first games that broke the barrier of a branded game actually being profitable. Because a lot of games, when they have a brand name on them, people think nobody's going to spend money in this game because why would you, I'm being advertised to, why would I spend money? But if they're very good games, like Minion Rush, like Chipotle Scarecrow, people are going to spend in them because they're good games. And the Kim Kardashian Hollywood thing, I can't tell you how many times that's been referenced this week. It's ridiculous. And say what you will about Kim Kardashian, say what you will about the game Hollywood. Apart, those things are not necessarily magic, but together, it's a great game, and it's the perfect brand for that game, and it works. And that's number one in the App Store right now. And she might not be Coca-Cola, but she is a brand.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, I was actually referring to actual brands like McDonald's and Coke and something like that.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think that they're open for that. There's agencies that'll help you put that together. There's one in Austin called Chaotic Moon, who is quite good. But I would recommend, if you have games that you think are just really great and well suited for a brand, add a few names to that list before you go out and approaching, because even though Coke might be a great opportunity for that, their focus might be sports or their focus might be music at that time. So you got to also look at Pepsi and Dr. Pepper and go down the line. But they do want to see it. They definitely do want to see it. Yes.
Hey, Brian Wayne from GameCloud. In my previous life, I made about 200 advert games and games for large media brands. One of the things that we always found was actually the sell-through was incredibly difficult, especially if you're going with media to say that it's like A&E or NBC or something like that, to like actually get your message through to NBC and then to the actual advertisers. Do you suggest going through agencies is the best way to do this, or just reach directly out to the brands themselves?
So this is a tricky question. I think that Jeff Greenblatt, who was supposed to be here, I think he would prefer you go through him at the agency. Being completely honest with you, I believe that what the agency represents is the opportunity to have one person go talk to a large number of brands about your one opportunity. So, Jeff can talk to an unbelievable number of brands within the mindshare world about your game, and that's going to save you a ton of time. However, if you don't match what it is that perhaps the agency is looking to achieve with that brand, you're not going to get presented to the brand. And so it's up to you to make sure to present it directly to the brand. In fact, Dr. Pepper program that I did at EA was a huge bottle cap program, almost 1 billion bottles of Dr. Pepper with EA marks all over them and codes under the bottle cap. We were told by their agency that Dr. Pepper was out of money for the year. And we went to Dallas and came back with $5 million. So you do have to go to the brand sometimes.
How do game makers educate themselves about objectives? Not even necessarily the one of the moment, but
Right.
looking back, it's obvious to you, but it might not be obvious to most people.
It's never obvious.
Well, what the top 20 objectives of last year were,
Right.
so they could be like, oh, we should be making games that align with objectives. Then we'll find the right brand because we're doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, the objectives that you work on to create your games are extraordinarily similar to what the brands are looking for. It's just really about how they interpret that information or how it's presented. When you think about gamification elements, and I hate using that word when it's regarding games because that's just games, but personalization, rewards, things like that. Reimagine what that means, not what it means to your game, but what it means to a brand. Can they, in some way, communicate with your gamer on a more deep level, perhaps even deeper than you're planning to? I mean, you want to drive them to IAP, most likely, but can you give them that IAP because of the brand, and what does the brand get out of that? Like, can you fit the brand within that? But I don't think you're changing anything about your game design. I think you're just thinking about it differently.
Well, I guess maybe my sort of part B to that is like, how do smaller games participate in that ecosystem? Because I know if you have Madden, you're like, oh, by the way, there's
Sure.
going to be millions of people.
Yeah,
there.
no problem.
But if you're like,
Yeah.
oh, if only Budweiser was here, it'd
So-
be so smart. But we only have this many.
If you're a smaller game and
Yes.
you have a smaller
How do you-
audience, I would recommend being, integrating ad technology, but getting smarter about that ad technology, because it does not have to be banners. It does not have to be pop-ups and interstitials. Reward-based advertising is going to get on the radar on the radar from the brands.
Okay.
There's a ton of different vendors. I won't prioritize them here, but they're very good. I mean, you're in a game, you want to get access to an item, or you want to get access to a level, or you want more time to play, or you want to speed up time while your item is generating.
Sure.
Allow them to watch an ad and bypass that time, or allow them to watch an ad and earn 3 coins to buy item X. Give the brand the opportunity to be the good guy. But you can do that with any size game.
Other questions?
What is the most successful game in your opinion ever made?
FIFA?
Okay, besides that one.
The one I had the most fun playing and the one I was most impressed with was probably Chipotle Scarecrow. Because I think that IP is strong enough that they could actually take it to feature films. I think that they could do a Scarecrow movie. I think Pixar could even release it. I mean, if you watch that video short, it's as good as a Pixar short. And the game's quite good too.
Tell people like what the game is, just for people who
Sure.
haven't played. Like, what is it?
It's a puzzle game. It's so Chipotle was trying to spin out. They did spin out from McDonald's. I don't know if everybody knows that, but McDonald's used to own Chipotle. So Chipotle spun out and wanted to make it clear that they were not this giant fast food conglomerate anymore. They're fresh ingredients. They're no GMOs. Like, that's basically what the angle was. So they had a Scarecrow character, and the theme song behind it is Pure Imagination from the Willy Wonka soundtrack, but it's the Fiona Apple version of it. It's this beautiful, slow, brooding song. And the Scarecrow is going to his 9-to-5 job, very much like the beginning of Joe versus the Volcano, if anybody knows the reference. And he's horribly sad about his life. And then he realizes that what he's doing is contributing to this terrible world of GMO and small cages for cows. And he goes out back to his farm and he starts creating fresh ingredients, and goes back to the city and sets up like a food truck sort of stand thing. And that's basically the general storyline, and everybody's happy. In the game, it's about puzzling, and it's essentially a map where you have to collect certain number of things, take it from X to Y, and do it in certain speeds, do it in certain orders. You get better at it. It gets much more complicated as you go on. It's actually quite good.
Do you know how that came together? Like, how'd that go from there was a game maker and there's Chipotle? Like, at what stage did they match up?
Yeah,
Do they align?
I don't know exactly how it came through, but the company that made the game and the video short is Moonbot out of Shreveport, Louisiana, who does great work. And I'm sure that somebody at Moonbot reached out to Chipotle directly.
Any more questions? I see some lunchtime people. But so I guess we are at lunchtime. Thank you very much, Bill.
All right, appreciate it.
Rocking our